Hello, my name is Mike Hackley, and today we're going to be talking about a continuation from last week where we were discussing Deloitte and the project that we're undertaking. Deloitte is a large multinational business processing firm that is adjusting to the realities of the modern workforce being remote and having to compete with companies that they never had to compete for their talent. In fact, over the last 2 years, it appears as though four of their top five consultants have separated and left the company based on the compensation package. So, as a result of this shocking reality, Deloitte has decided to look into their compensation package and restructure it based on the performance of the consultants. We're also going to be looking at the performance of the individual vendors that provide the products and services that they will be using. So each vendor has been broken down into a series of tiers. These tiers correspond with the compensation tier that the individual consultant themselves is going to be receiving. And as we approach this method and approach this research project, we're going to be employing the Kimball method of dimensional modeling, which does require a four-step process to build the model. Now, these four steps include number one, understanding the business process. And in this case, we have chosen the consultant's compensation. This is going to allow us to drill down and develop solutions that are going to be unique to this particular process. We're also going to be establishing the grain or the level of detail that's going to be contained in each row of the report itself, and the way that we are going to be setting up the actual database themselves. We're also going to identify the dimensions. Now, the dimensions are categories, or they determine the scope of the data that's going to be analyzed. In this case, we're going to be discussing the consultant team performance, and this can be listed as a series of interactions between several dimensions. Just to name a few, you have the consultant database itself. You also have the sales channel, the territory in which we are talking about, the location, the client, and then the spending tier, as well as the compensation tier that's going to greatly determine the compensation or the bonus that each of the consultants will be receiving. Now, when we are identifying the facts, this is going to allow us to understand the data that's going to be used and displayed. In this example, we're going to be using, again, the compensation data fact. Now, part of this is going to allow us to begin building out our data warehouse and reviewing the options available for analyzing the data. There are several options available, some of which are still being developed, and it all goes back to the original relational database management systems that have been around for many decades now. These are best suited for storing, querying, and analyzing the data, and this all allows us to have a better confluence of the data that we're going to be having. The relational databases are related in what is called a schema. And these schemas are going to vary depending on the type of model that we're going to be using. One of the most popular models has been the STAR schema, and it's been used to establish the relationships between databases and their associated fact tables. In the STAR schema, we have different databases and dimensions, and they are centered around the fact table, and they often create a one-to-one relationship in that fact table itself. For many businesses, the sheer limitation that's presented by the relational database system is that as you begin querying data across multiple dimensions, you're beginning to tax the SQL language to the point that it is no longer functioning. That is where the online analytical processing comes into place, or what is known as OLAP. Now, OLAP actually breaks all of these dimensions down into cubes. As you can see here on the slide, we have products, going up the left hand side, we have geography going across the middle, and then going towards the back, we have time. This OLAP cube allows us to slice this data on many different dimensions. For instance, we can look at the geography of United States, and then we can look at the mobile category in terms of products, and then we can also look at that from a Q1 perspective. That allows us to get very, very specific as we are looking at data for year-over-year performances. An alternative to the OLAP is going to be the data lake. The data lake is very similar to the OLAP, with the main difference being that the data itself is stored in a much more raw position. It is not cleansed very much before it is presented for querying. The size of our organization means that the OLAP with the star schema is definitely going to be the best choice for our products. And here you can see a draft design of the OLAP schema that we are intending to use, which is an extended star, which really allows us to have a maximum amount of data performance capabilities. Definitely hope this helped to answer some of your questions. Feel free to contact me if you have any further. Thank you so much.